Pleasure to be here.
So I want to start off because the show is about felons voting. And I want to start off, first of all, to ask if felons are citizens. Would any of you consider felons citizens?
Absolutely.
Of course, felons are citizens.
And I would
Reginald,
say absolutely. Being a
Nick,
felon, an ex-felon myself, I believe that, I mean, each and every one of them are citizens, yes.
Why
so
wouldn't they be a citizen?
it was just a question.
Okay.
I don't have an opinion. It was just a question.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that they are or are not. I believe if you're born in America, you are a citizen, regardless
Right.
of the circumstance. If you want to know
Right.
my in particular beliefs. So, do you think voting is an inherent right for all citizens,
Yes.
I
Reginald?
concur. I concur. Absolutely.
So then, should felons have the right to vote?
Well, let me say
Now,
this from a firsthand experience. In the state of Illinois, an ex-felon can vote once he's emancipated from the IDOC, Illinois Department of Corrections. If you're in the Cook County Jail and haven't been sent to the penitentiary yet, and you can be an ex-felon sitting in the county waiting on another case, you can still vote as absentee ballot. That's in Illinois.
Okay,
But in
Angela,
Texas,
your thoughts on
yeah,
that, Angela?
I'm also speaking from firsthand experience being an ex-felon myself, not only being an ex-felon, but also working very closely with the current administration to pass the First Step Act, which has freed nearly 9,000 people from prison, and 91% of them have been Black. And I can tell you that I do believe that rights should be restored to vote once someone has fully completed their sentence. And
But
the
you don't
reason,
believe, do you believe that they should have that right while they are in jail? Should you have
no.
had that right while you were in jail?
No, because people that are voting, they vote in their interests. So if you have someone that is convicted of rape or someone that is convicted of murder, and there's something on the ballot that can have you vote in the interest of making laws more lenient towards those issues, then you're going to vote towards your particular interest. So I believe that once someone has fully completed their sentence, that their rights should be fully restored. I do support that 100%, but not while they are serving their time or currently incarcerated. I do not agree.
Nikki Giovanni, how do you feel about that?
Oh, I couldn't disagree more. First of all, we have a president who half of his administration, more than half, have committed crimes, have been convicted, and he has pardoned them. So it all depends on who
I'm one of them, and I'm grateful to be
And-
pardoned by the president.
Well, I'm happy that you are. That has nothing
Me
to do
too.
with Angela. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying simply that you didn't lose your right to be a citizen because of whatever you did. I'm not asking. I have no interest. That put you in prison. If you're like a lot of people, a lot of what you did should not have put you in jail or in prison. And when we consider, and again, I have a good friend, and that's why I'm sitting here. His name is Daryl Bailey. He's in Florence, Colorado, which is one of the worst places anybody could be. And Daryl should have, he's in prison. He's got nothing else to do all day. He studies the Bible now, but he's got nothing to do all day but keep up with current affairs. He probably, more people in prison are more aware of the crooks we have in the administration. Just because they let you out doesn't make them good people. I'm glad for you.
I've been listening to you talk, Ms. Giovanni, and I do respect my elders, but you are not factual on a lot of things that you say. And one thing that I want to correct you on is that this administration did not let me out. I've been out since 2005, working endlessly in my communities to restore them, to help people coming home from prison to get back on track. So what he did for me was clear my name. Now, once I got out of prison here in Georgia, because the laws are different in each particular state, but once you're out in Georgia and you complete your sentence, and once you're fully completed with your sentence, then your rights are restored. So I know that that varies from state to state, but I just wanted to correct you on that and let you know that the president did not let me out of prison. I was already out of prison.
If I may interject this one thought here, when we talk about the current president is doing nothing more than emulating what our founding fathers did. When they wrote the Constitution, there was no idea for the Black man to be voting when he said all men are created equal and have the right to vote. It was only until they got to the 15th Amendment when they talked about having a black man that be able to vote in the 1870s. And then they ratified it went to 1965, 100 years later. So again, this country, the vote is a way of getting your voice out there. But this country is predicated on economics. Economics. You know, it's all about who getting that bag when it's all said and done. You know, and every president is getting that, with the exception of Obama. You know, because I did 18 and a half years myself. And Ms. Giovanni is correct. Most guys on the penitentiary are aware of what's going on in the world because it affects their lives, you know, whether they're going to get back to the world. So again, you know, when their families vote, there's an influence on them whether or not, you know what I'm saying, this was excessive. I say
most of the people, if I may interject, most of the people that are in prison right now are in prison because of Joe Biden's 94 crime bill, 3 strikes, you're out. Right. This is what's responsible for the mass incarceration of Black America. So we want to talk about Obama and the Biden administration. Then I would like to know why they did not do anything in their 8 years of tenure to overturn that 94 crime bill that has the majority of Black Americans serving life without parole right now. Now,
let's stay factual.
I'm not one to argue.
Obama did overturn the Rockefeller law.
On facts. I speak on facts now, and I can speak on what I've had my hand in directly. I don't operate on emotions, and I don't operate on hate. I operate
go ahead, Reginald. Go ahead, Reginald.
I don't want to cut the sister off, but being respectful, you know, Obama did overturn, you understand me, the Rockefeller law, which said there was uneven in sentencing. You get caught with 1 ounce of rock, and you get caught with 6 kilos of powder.
Again, you're not being factual. You're not being factual. You're talking about the Fair Sentencing Act. You're talking about the Fair Sentencing Act, which did not apply to the people that had life without parole. Obama left thousands of Black men and women behind because the Fair Sentencing Act did not apply to them because they were charged. They were lifers.
Life sentences.
They were lifers, but we're talking about life for nonviolent charges. These are a lot of the pot prisoners that are incarcerated. So we can give Obama, you know, his credit for the Fair Sentencing Act, and we can give President Trump his credit for the First Step Act. Either way it goes, if we're about trying to get our people out, Obama is no longer the president right now. Right now, what the people are coming home off of is the Fair Step Act. And this conversation is about whether or not we believe that people that are incarcerated should be allowed to vote. Now, I'm all for Black people. I'm all for us having the right to vote, to exercise that right. But as someone who is a redeemed citizen, a restored citizen, I believe that people should complete their sentencing in full. Once they're completely rehabilitated, then they are
understood,
able to
Angela. At an April town, hold that thought. At an April town hall meeting, Vermont Senator and 2020 presidential candidate Bernie Sanders said that all people should have the right to vote, calling it undemocratic and un-American to ban prisoners from casting ballots. Why would Bernie Sanders say such a thing, Nikki Giovanni? He has an idea there. What do you think about that idea?
I think, and I don't want to, I think that when you get your driver's license, you ought to have a right to vote. You're 16 years old. When you go get that driver's license, that ought to take you into the polling place. If you commit a crime and you are convicted, or whatever it is we're going to call it, you are still a citizen. And your voice matters, whether you are a lifer, whether you are in any whatever your position is, you have a right to vote. It's that simple. Right. If we are going to say we don't want you to vote, we punish you by not allowing you to vote. Am I making sense?
You're making sense.
So if you have done something that we say is a crime, then you should be able, then you if you're going to go to prison, you ought to have people, well, you know, you have to pay your price. No, you don't. You're in prison. You're locked up all day, every day. And right now, of course, everybody, if there's anybody that you know and you love in prison, were worried about the COVID because they're so close together, and they're lying about how many people get sick who are in prison and who are in nursing homes. But I think you have a right to have your voice.
Well,
We spent 200 years as Black Americans enslaved, and Angela, I just can't accept changing enslaved for felon, because it's the same word. We're saying we're going to take away a right.
Black people have to have accountability, Ms. Giovanni. Black people have to have accountability. Me, the white man, did not make me commit a crime. I chose to make a bad decision at a young age, and I had to pay my debt to society, and that's what I did. When you are a prisoner, you lose your rights. We have to begin to have accountability. No one is saying that you're not a citizen and you don't count. I fight for people to get out of prison every single day. I advocate for people to come home and have a second chance. However, let's just, for example, there was a bill that was just passed in California to make, I'm not done. Just let me make my point. There was a bill that was just passed in California that makes it basically, it excludes LGBTQ from being charged as a sex offender if they have sex with a child. You don't want someone that is serving time for child molestation to vote on a law like that, because they're going to vote in their particular interest. It's just like having people on a jury. You interview those people on the jury, and if you find that they have some type of bias, then you excuse them from being able to vote against that particular issue. I'm all for once their rights are restored, them being able to vote, but not while they are currently serving their time and haven't been rehabilitated. I'm going to say no.
Go ahead, Reginald.
When we came about of slavery and Reconstruction, when they gave us the right to vote, they came right along with the Jim Crow laws right besides that to make sure you didn't vote. So again, I know you're familiar with the Reconstruction, how we first had Black senators and things of this nature, how we had Oklahoma, how we had Rosewood. The white people, they couldn't stand that.
This sounds like a panel of Black supremacy. All I hear is hate, white people this, white people that. I'm sorry, but I'm not oppressed.
Hold up, wait a minute, because you're trying to monopolize the conversation.
I don't know any Black people that haven't been allowed to vote, though. I don't know any Black people that aren't allowed to vote.
Hold that thought, Angela. Hold that thought, Angela. Let's let Reginald finish his.
The vote is the side act. Now, she's not the only one been to penitentiary. I did 18 and a half years that came home to help liberate the brothers that was in towns. Illinois, it's only maximum prison. And I would say this, it took us 10 years of marching, sweating, crying, pleading. But when it came down to making a decision, it was economics over emotions. They said it cost trillions of dollars to keep this prison open. You understand me? So let's close it. It wasn't about letting the Black man be free. It was about their money.
Well, if you're just now tuning in, we are talking about voting, and should felons be allowed to vote, or even ex-felons be allowed to vote. We're going to continue the conversation, and you can continue the conversation too. If you're on our YouTube, or if you're somewhere else watching us, go to our YouTube and you can directly interact with us. We'll be right back on the Tammy Mac Late Show on Fox Soul.
Hey, Dad, I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Show.
Back to the Tammy Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. If you want more of this content, you can easily just log on to foxsoul.tv or download our Fox Soul app. You can go to Fox Now. You can go to Fire TV. You can go to Zumo, Tubi. You can go to Apple TV. Watch us on YouTube, or you can even grab us on caffeine.tv. We are sitting here today talking to Reginald Berry, Nikki Giovanni, and Angela Stanton-King on whether inmates in prison should be allowed to vote. Before we go there, Reginald, I do want you to talk a little bit about your organization. You are the founder of Saving Our Sons Ministry. What is that about?
Well, Saving Our Sons Ministry is about the reality of what's happening in Chicago. Each and every day, at the end of the week, you hear about 59 shootings, 5 people dying. And again, I too was a product of my community. I came from on the west side of Chicago, eventually became part of the Foot Corner Hustlers, and that landed me in prison for 33 years. But while I was sitting there languishing in prison, my wife was raising my 2 sons. And when initially they came to me, it was like about some mentors. I'm like, I didn't have another man try to help my son be anything. But in my 18 years being absent, I needed that. Someone to intercede as a strong hand. And so when I became liberated, it came to my consciousness that I had to pay it forward by saying Saving Our Sons, because there's a whole plethora of guys who are still in the IDOC or in prison that will never see their families again, just like it says, and you need some other male figures to try to lead them to the straight path.
So I want to ask each of you, and I'll start with you, Ms. Giovanni. Do you think that the felony disenfranchisement laws are being used to keep Black people from voting? Is this all rooted in racial discrimination or voter suppression?
It's voter suppression. But speaking of Daryl, I'm back to Daryl. He's from Chicago. I sent him, and I'd like to send him, when he was in prison in Chicago before they moved him, I could have books sent to him. I could have Pac's book. I could have books. I sent this book. When they moved him to Florence, Colorado, I sent this book. It's a little book. You can see. It's a little book. It was sent back to me. They said, he cannot receive books. So all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but now they are afraid of words. They are afraid that he will read. I'm not doing anything but reading. This is just some poetry. This is just some way of saying, we remember. I send Daryl some money. I don't have much, but I send some when I can so that he can buy something to shave with, something to brush his teeth with. We got him in prison and he can't buy a deodorant. Are you kidding? And as I'll say it again, and Ms. King, we would always disagree on this. They are there. We could move a voting machine into every prison and every jail and know that their vote is an honest vote. Ms. King is going to say they would vote their interest. Ms. King, in case you haven't noticed, everybody votes their interest.
Not everybody in prison, though. That's the difference. There's a difference in someone that has been convicted and tried, right, in a court of law for a crime and someone that has not. So I think that we need to not lose sight of those important facts. Now, again, accountability is a big thing. And your friend David,
hold that thought, Angela. Hold that thought, Angela. Go ahead.
King, I'm sorry. We have, how many people are in prison who we have now found out are innocent?
How many people are in prison that aren't innocent?
That are innocent. So
how many people are in prison that are not innocent? There are a lot of people in prison that deserve to be there now. I'm just listen. I go through caseloads, I review cases, I submit names for pardons, for clemency. I'm all about accountability in the Black community. Yes, there are people in prison that don't deserve to be there. Your friend, I honestly believe he deserves a second chance. If he has been given a life sentence, he's a case that I would look at and say, give this man a second chance to allow him to come home and be reunited with his family, right? My daughter's father has a life sentence in prison, and I'll be the first one to tell you, he deserves it. Some people deserve to be in prison. I think we need to have accountability. I think we need to stop pointing the finger at the white man. I think we need to focus on, because one of the things that I was listening to was when we opened up, we were talking about all the police shooters involving white men and unarmed Black men. And then we went to Tupac. Well, Tupac wasn't killed by a police officer. Then you have this young man talking about what's going on in Chicago. We know that those aren't white police officers killing our children. I think that what we need to do is come together collectively, stop fighting, figure out how we can fix us and stop pointing fingers And I'm gonna
we
leave it
already
at
know how
that.
we
And
can
I
fix
am
us.
for
We already
voting
know how we can
once you've
fix
been
us.
redeemed.
We can fix us by having economic opportunities. That's what's going on in my neighborhood.
Foster
With young men
entrepreneurship.
shooting
I
each other
agree.
and things of this nature. It has accentuated circumstances. Let me say this for the moment also, because I have some good friends of mine that's still in prison. You know, more importantly, Mr. Hoover. Mr. Hoover in the 80s came up with Century 21, said that all the gangs would stop fighting one another, come under one flag, and all of us would get registered and become voters. He had changed the demographics from gangster disciples to growth and deliverance. But in this accord, once the oppressor got wind of this, what they do? They set Jeff up and buried him, you understand, Mr. Hoover up and buried him in Colorado. Same thing with Jeff Fort. Any black man become enlightened about the situation in this country, they're either going to kill him or they're going to bury him in prison. And that's been my reality.
That type of rhetoric, right, about
a
a black
reality.
man and they
It's a
gonna kill him.
reality
Hold
where I'm
on,
from.
just let me finish, because Larry Hoover, for one, I'm advocating for him to also be free. When his mother just passed away, I personally asked for him to be transported to the funeral. So I don't want you guys to think that I'm an enemy because I don't agree, right? But what I don't agree with is how we always use this language about, you know, white men killing us, white people killing us. Even when Miss Giovanni spoke about Kyle Rittenhouse, and she said, you know, those people he killed back then, they would have been lynched. He killed 2 white people. I don't think that we're all being factual about what's happening here. And everybody that I know, because I'm from the hood, right? I grew up in the hood. My baby father was a head of a gang and all that. Everybody that I know and ever loved in my life that's ever lost their life has been killed by one of us. When I was raped, when I was raped, when I was molested, it was by a black person. I think what we need to do, listen, I don't know nobody that's been killed by a white person. I see what we see on social media. I see what we see on the news. But when it comes to the hood and the work you doing in the hood, you're working with what we are doing to each other as a people.
Angela,
so this rhetoric about what white people
know a few people who have been killed by white people, Angela. I think you do know a few people who have been killed by white people.
No, I don't know anybody that's been murdered by a white person personally. No, I do not.
But we can start off with George Floyd.
You telling me I know him? I don't know George Floyd. I heard of his story, but I don't know him personally.
Well, I understand you mean personally, but I mean what I'm saying is okay.
I can name a million names. I can name
agree with Ms. Giovanni.
But I can tell you people I know personally that's been killed by black people.
It's been institutionalized in our black people from the time of slavery, when they was cutting babies,
when they was cutting babies
out of our pregnant women,
this is oppression talk. You talking to a woman that went to prison,
one another.
that was a convicted felon that came home and running for office, baby. Ain't no white person did nothing to me. I am not oppressed. I don't even let that type of language digest into my brain. I can do and be anything that I want to be in this life. White people don't have nothing to do with my success. I'm solely responsible for my success. And that's my message. And that's what I'm teaching my people. And it's about accountability.
So only 2 states in Maine and Vermont, only 2 states, Maine and Vermont, they actually allow prisoners to vote. They're also the whitest states in the nation. So is that a coincidence, you think, Nikki Giovanni?
No, it's not a coincidence. They don't have enough black people in Maine and Vermont to matter. I really like Vermont. It has the best state song in the world. Moonlight in Vermont is so wonderful. And I really hope that they vote out Collins. Senator Collins is a liar and a crazy old bitch. And I hope that they get rid of her. I would want my dog, Cleopatra, to be taking her place, because Cleopatra has more sense and more integrity than Collins. She does. You know that's true, Reginald.
She's sold out. She's sold us out.
Bitch. And I'm happy for you, Angela, because we all have to find a way to understand or to try to make it all right what has happened to us. We all do. And you have decided this is what happens to you. And I'm glad. I have a friend who actually likes Donald Trump, and I still like her. She's an old lady. I take corn over because corn is out now. I'm not going to, let that happen. But when I said hate, and I think it's important, you should. Newton teaches us for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Amen. So if you're going to love something, that means that there's going to be something you hate. And that is only logical. You cannot love everything. I'm glad that you're successful. I'm glad that you're happy and whatever. It means I don't want to say it like that because I'm not indifferent to you. I don't know you either, but I know that there's something wrong in living in this country where we are being treated the way we are being treated. And then we turn around and everybody expects us to laugh and say, it's okay. It's not okay.
And that's just where, okay. And with all due respect, Miss Giovanni, I got the full rundown on your titles and your contribution to our society. And as a Black woman, my hat is off to you. And you're definitely someone that I would look up to and never respect for any reason. Never disrespect for any reason. We don't have to agree, but just because of who you are, you have that respect from me. But I just view life through a different lens. I think that there is what we see in the media and what we see on social media, and then what we actually deal with every single day. And when I go outside of my doors, I don't deal with racism the way that is being presented to us in the media. I don't think that the atmosphere or the climate that we see on TV or that we see on social media is the real atmosphere or climate that's outside of our doors. When I go outside and I see white people, whether it's at the store or whether it's at my daughter's school, I don't run into the racist incidents that the way social media is trying to hype it up.
So
and
you've never been called,
you've
never been called a nigger by a white person?
I've been called a nigger by a Black person.
I knew you were going to say that.
Times.
That's why I asked specifically.
No, but hold on. Let me finish. See, you think that it would be a difference if it's a white person. I've never been called a nigger. Yeah. I've never been called a nigger by a white person, but I have been called a nigger by a Black person in a fit of rage that was trying to kill me. If you calling me a nigger and you trying to cause harm, if you calling me a nigger and you're trying to cause bodily harm to me, if you're calling me a nigger and you trying to cause bodily harm to me, it's still hate. It don't make a difference if you Black or white.
I would absolutely agree with that. I just wanted to know, had you
y'all
ever...
not gonna make me, none of you are gonna make me see racism or have hate for white people the way that you do. That's not gonna happen, because that's not reality to me. Reality to me is, it don't matter what color your skin is, all of us are capable of doing wrong. Okay, I know Black people that kill just like white people. When a Black mother loses her child, it doesn't make it any less or hurt any less as it's a white person or a Black person. That mother's child is still dead. I think we got to stop putting color at the front of everything and realize that we are all capable of good or bad, whether we Black, white, Christians, Muslims, or whatever. We are all capable of it. So
let me hold on, Angela. Let me be perfectly clear. I'm not asking questions to be disagreeable. So I want to start that off. So you don't have to be defensive towards me. I'm asking honestly just to get the answer. Because most Black people,
and when I give you the answer, you don't want to accept it.
No, I've not accepted any of your answers. That's not true. I'm not here for you to be defensive. I'm not. Hey, you a Black woman, I'm a Black woman.
I'm not defensive. I just don't agree.
So listen, you see this picture right here?
But I do want to say, hold that thought, Reginald. Hold that thought, Reginald. All right. But I do want to say that I understand your point of view and I accept your point of view. But for me, I know that there are different experiences for other Black people. Absolutely. And if we are going to do what you say do, which is look inside and look at ourselves, then I think that other side of the coin needs to also be respected as well. And
I think
minimized in some sort of way, because it does exist.
Okay, but we have been. Okay,
that's the only thing I'm saying. I agree.
So I'm running for John Lewis's seat. And John Lewis, for the last 40, 50 years, been fighting against racial injustice, right? So all of the people that come before us, all of our civil rights leaders, everyone has been fighting against this. So to me, it seems like we've been doing something over and over again and haven't gotten any results. So to me, that's the definition of insanity. So what I want to do is I want to try something different, right?
I would disagree with no results. We've had some results in decades for sure. The Civil Rights Act of '65 by John Lewis was a part of those results. Rosa Parks, the bus boycotts allowed us to sit anywhere we want on the bus. The Woolworth sit-ins allowed us to be able to sit anywhere we want. The Freedom Riders, who were also killed who were also white people.
So then we aren't oppressed. So then we aren't oppressed.
Have happened.
So then we are not oppressed because I'm a
oppression
black
comes more
woman
than
that can walk
physically,
out into this world and get whatever I
It's
want. There's
financial
nothing
oppression.
oppressing me. I'm not oppressed. I can get up
It's
and take my
physical
ID
oppression.
and go to the voter
You
poll
just
and
don't
I can
understand.
vote, being an ex-felon. I'm not oppressed. I can go start a business, right?
But you
I
gotta
can
look
do
beyond
whatever I
yourself.
want to do.
Well,
I'm not
but what
oppressed
I'm
as a black
what I'm
woman.
If you want
suggesting
your
for
sister,
your
you want
consideration,
yourself?
hold that thought, Reginald. What I'm
All right.
suggesting for your consideration, Angela, I have a girlfriend who went to vote in Florida in I want to say it was 2016, and they turned her down. They made her leave. They made her leave. She had her license. They did not give her a reason. She called her mom, and her mom knew that she could go to the courthouse and vote, but they turned her away from the polls. There have been people who have been turned away from the polls. And what I'm suggesting for your consideration is that you also see the other side of the coin, because look, I'm an independent and I'm open. I don't vote in the 5th district, but I would say that I would be one of those people who would give you a chance. But just like you don't want to hear everything from one side, then you should also not want to be the person that's completely opposite, the polar opposite on the other side.
So I'm
I think
open
you should
to
open
hearing,
yourself
but I
up
also
to
have
other
common
ideas and
sense.
considerations.
But we also have to have common sense, because you're sharing a story with me and telling me that one particular young lady was turned away from the polls, but you're not saying why. 9 times out of 10,
They didn't give her a reason.
Okay, but I'm sure there probably was a reason. Maybe the ID was expired. I mean, let's just be. So how did you said they didn't give her a reason? So how do we know what the reason was?
You think you're about to enter into politics? You can't
How do
tell
we
me
know what the
a
reason
deal
was?
fight if you don't believe there's reason and rationale behind voter suppression. Just because the idea.
Did I say that? Did I say that?
Made that statement. You made it.
I did not make. See, this is where I'm gonna have to get off the live, because people just accusing you of being and calling me a liar. That's not what I said. We're talking about one particular incident. She was talking about her friend. I asked her why was her friend turned away. No one is saying that voter suppression is not real, right? But what I'm saying is this: we can all take our IDs and go to the poll. If that is a reason and they deny you your right to vote, then there are things that you can do. But let's not act.
Well, she did. She did. I mean, that's what I said. She did. She went to the courthouse, to the Capitol, and voted. So she did. But the fact that she was turned away from her poll, and I'm saying if you're running for a seat, you should be open to listening to all of your constituents and not just one part of the constituents.
So what makes you think that I'm not willing to listen to all of my constituents? When did I ever say I wasn't willing to listen to all of my constituents? You still can't vote. Because this conversation was about whether or not people in prison are able to vote. You just brought up an instance with your one particular friend, and now you're saying that I'm not willing to listen to everybody's
side. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. You're completely misunderstanding what I'm saying. All I'm saying is you have to be open to both sides, because everyone is your constituent. That's really all I'm saying. And that's it.
And I am open. I just do not believe that people that are currently in prison should vote until they have been rehabilitated and their rights have been restored.
Well, the truth be told, when you get out of prison,
let's talk about this real quick before we get out of here, Reginald. In certain states, ex-offenders are ordered to pay criminal penalties, legal fees, and victims restitution as part of their rehabilitation process. Do you think that's fair, Nikki Giovanni?
No. That's an easy answer.
As a matter of fact, I think LeBron James and another group of basketball players are coming or putting their monies together to pay some fees for some people in Florida, for some ex-felons or convicts in Florida.
You got to give it to the athletes. Going back to, I was a friend, and I was grateful to be a friend of Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali stood up to the government. He said, no, I'm not going to Vietnam. No Vietnamese ever called me nigger. And they took his belt. They took his belt, and he said, take it, but I'm not going to go and die or kill for you. I live here in the part of Virginia. I'm in, Angela, I'm in the western part of the state of Virginia. You can walk to West Virginia. And the reason West Virginia separated, as we know, from Virginia is that they said, the people who became West Virginia said, we're not going to send our sons to die so that the Shenandoah can have slaves. And I think that these are outstanding people. I'm so proud. Let me go back to I'm so proud of the athletes that they are risking a lot, not just money, because money is just, as James Brown said, money won't change you, but time is taking you on. But they are standing up for something. Colin Kaepernick took a knee. The last time I heard, and I think Angela and I might finally agree on something, most men take a knee to ask you, will you be theirs? They go on their knee and they say, honey, will you marry me? Will you be mine? When Colin took a knee, he was saying to the Constitution of the United States, will you love me? Will you be mine? That's all he was saying. And the Constitution said, no, I ain't gonna marry you because they mistreated that child. And he hasn't done anything but try to be a good guy. LeBron should, of course, run for Senate at some point. He's an Ohioan, as am I. I would love to see LeBron come back home and run for the governor or run from, as you are. If I were you, Angela, I would want every single woman in prison to be able to vote, because the chances are they'll vote for you. And that's what you want. You want your voice to be able to carry over. John Lewis was a friend. John and I graduated from Fisk University together. And one of the things that John recognized, and John had a lot. He was he was the youngest person to speak at the March on Washington, as you know, and he never backed down. And losing John was important. If you want to take John's seat, you ought to think about the things that John did to get that seat.
Well, I don't want to be John Lewis. I want to be Angela Stanton-King. John Lewis sat in his seat for 40 years, and Atlanta is in shambles right now. And I think that it's time for something different. I've been in prison with women that are in prison, and in our respect to John Lewis and what he did, but 40 years, we need change right now in Atlanta. I've been in prison with women. Everyone is not ready. Everyone is not in the right mindset in prison. There are some that are. If we can differentiate between people that have truly been rehabilitated, and I think that my brother over here in the corner can agree. You know, every prison is for people that need to be in prison. Prison is about public safety. Now, everyone, you know, is not guilty, but the majority of them are. And I just believe that when we are talking about people that have been redeemed, people that have been restored, people that have been rehabilitated and are ready to become productive members of society, yes.
If I may,
other than that, I don't agree.
Go ahead, Reginald. We're going to wrap it up with you. Go ahead, Reginald.
Prisons being a place for rehabilitation. First of all, where was they habilitated at in order to be rehabilitated? In Illinois, prison is a warehouse. You stay locked up 23 hours a day, no school, no sort of structure or programs to develop you until you.
So then why should they vote? If there's no education in prison, why should they vote? If you talking about people that's just locked in a cage 23 hours a day, no structure, no education, no nothing, why should these people be allowed to vote on laws that impact us?
Because again, I did 8.5 years by myself. And then it made me go crazy. It made me strive to be stronger to help emancipate my other brothers and sisters. So again, you know, disenfranchisement is alive and well. Suppression fiscally is alive and well. And again, you know, when you think about, I'm still wondering why the people in Washington can't vote. All those black folks, the White House right across the street, and they can't vote. They free.
Well, thank you so much to Angela Stanton-King and Reginald. We appreciate you too. Nikki Giovanni, more than an honor to share this show with you today. And much luck to you in the 5th District, Angela. And also, Reginald, congratulations on your ministry. And I certainly hope that it helps your city of Chicago for sure. But we are coming right back on the Tam and Mac Show because Tam has to talk to you. And I've got a nice treat to talk to you about tonight. So come back on Fox Soul.
With coronavirus still spreading, people at higher risk must take extra precautions. You're at higher risk if you are over 65, or if you have any serious underlying medical conditions, like heart disease, chronic lung disease, diabetes, or if your immune system is compromised for any reason. If you're at higher risk, wash your hands frequently with soap and water for 20 seconds. Avoid touching your face. Disinfect frequently touched objects. and wash up after being in public spaces. And when it comes to social situations, less is better. Stay 6 feet or 2 arm lengths away from other people. Better still, stay home if you can. If you're sick, please stay home and away from others. And if you think you've been exposed to the virus, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. In challenging times, the choices you make are critical. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
Let us not forget that we are involved in a serious social revolution. Those hundreds and thousands of our brothers are not here. Those who have said be patient and wait, we must say that we cannot be patient. We do not want our freedom gradually, but we want to be free now.
Great black minds, great black brothers.
Fox Soul presents Kings with Cosign.
For the guys you home alone right now during quarantine, this is the perfect time for you to pause and rethink commitment.
Stream it live.
Find your Scottie Pippen if you Jordan. Find your Kobe Bryant if you Shaquille O'Neal. Let's stop being independent in relationships and be interdependent.
Every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific.
You know, me and my wife, we might argue, but we always come back here.
Ooh, so I thought tonight I'd give you a little treat in Tam Talks, a treat compliments of Nikki Giovanni. This is one of her poems, one of her most famous, called Ego Trippin'. I was born in the Congo. I walked the Fertile Crescent and built the Sphinx. I designed a pyramid so tough that a star that only glows every 100 years falls into the center, giving divine, perfect light. I am bad, baby. I sat on the throne drinking nectar with Allah. I got hot and sent an ice age to Europe to cool my thirst. Oh, my oldest daughter is Nefertiri. The tears from my birth pains created the Nile. I am a beautiful woman. I gazed on the forest and burned out the Sahara Desert with a packet of goat's meat and a change of clothes. I crossed it in 2 hours. I am a gazelle, so swift you can't catch me. For a birthday present, when he was 3, I gave my son Hannibal an elephant. He gave me Rome for Mother's Day. My strength flows ever on. My son Noah built New Ark. And I stood proudly at the helm as we sailed on a soft summer day. I turned myself into myself, and I was Jesus. Men, intone my loving name. All praises, I am the one who would save. I sow diamonds in my backyard. My bowels deliver uranium. The filings from my fingernails are semi-precious jewels. On a trip north, I caught a cold and blew my nose, giving oil to the Arab world. I'm so hip, even my errors are correct. I sailed west to reach east and had to round off the earth as I went. The hair from my head thinned and gold was laid across 3 continents. I am so perfect, so divine, so surreal, I cannot be comprehended except by my permission. I mean, I can fly like a bird in the sky. Thank you to the one and only Nikki Giovanni for blessing us with her presence tonight on the Tammy Mac Late Show. And until tomorrow, it's a blessing to be in your box on Fox Soul. Peace, y'all.